At 27, I walked into my new office, my name gleaming on the door, Clara Evans, Regional Manager. But when I turned the corner, the universe gave me the cruelest joke imaginable. Sitting there in a suit, nervously clutching a coffee cup, was Ethan Walker, my father's son. The son he chose, the son he raised, the son he abandoned me for. He looked up, smiled politely, and said, "You must be my new boss." For a second, the years blurred. The nights Mom cried alone, the electricity cut off, the birthdays Dad missed. And now, here he was, his perfect son in a pressed shirt, while I stood there, the product of the family he left behind. I smiled back. "Yes," I said softly, "I am." And in that moment, I realized this wasn't just fate. It was justice dressed in a business suit. My name is Clara Evans, and when I was 7, my father left us. He packed his suitcase one afternoon and told my mother he was going to clear his head. He never came back. For months, I waited by the window, thinking maybe he got lost. Maybe he'd knock on the door and say, "I'm home." But when Mom finally showed me a photo of him holding another woman, a woman with blonde hair and a diamond on her finger, standing proudly beside a little boy about my age, I understood. He didn't lose his way. He found another life. Mom raised me on her own, working double shifts at a diner. We didn't have much, but she gave me everything she could: love, strength, and a stubborn refusal to give up. I studied hard, graduated top of my class, and climbed my way through the corporate world. Every success I earned was a quiet rebellion against the man who thought we weren't enough. Then came the promotion I'd worked a decade for, regional manager at a major firm. It felt like victory, until I learned who I'd be supervising. Ethan Walker, my father's son. The golden boy who'd had everything I was denied. Our first meeting was strange. Ethan walked in with confidence, the kind that came from being loved all your life. His voice was warm, his handshake firm. He didn't recognize me. Of course, he wouldn't. Why would he remember the daughter his father abandoned before Ethan was even born? "So," he said cheerfully, "I hear you're a legend around here. Everyone says you're sharp but tough." I smiled tightly. "I try to keep things professional." He grinned. "Good. I could use someone to teach me the ropes." That day, I learned that fate had a sense of humor. Ethan had been hired as my junior manager, fresh from grad school, eager to prove himself. And his father, Richard Walker, my father, was now one of the firm's board investors. When I saw Richard's name on the company's internal emails, my chest tightened. I hadn't seen that name in 20 years. I still remembered the last day I saw him, his hand on the doorknob, his voice saying, "I'll come back, I promise." Mom's tears soaked her apron as I watched his car disappear down the street. Now he was everywhere. In the company letterhead, the staff meetings, the policies. At home, I stared at the photo I kept hidden in a drawer. Mom, me, and the ghost of the man who'd left us. "Mom," I whispered to the photo, "he's here again. But this time, I'm ready." I decided to play it smart. I wouldn't show my anger. I wouldn't tell Ethan who I was, not yet. I'd let time reveal the truth. And when it did, I wanted Richard Walker to see exactly who he left behind. My mother, Linda Evans, was the kind of woman who could turn heartbreak into determination. After Dad left, she picked up every extra shift she could find, sewing clothes at night to pay rent. There were nights she'd come home so exhausted that she'd fall asleep sitting at the kitchen table, still holding her cup of tea. I'd cover her with a blanket and whisper, "One day, I'll make things better." I meant it. By high school, I was the girl who never missed a class, who volunteered at the library, who worked part-time after school. My teachers loved me. My classmates mostly ignored me. But I didn't care. My dreams were louder than their laughter. College was tough. I worked 2 jobs, sold my old clothes online, and took out every scholarship I could find. Every time I wanted to quit, I'd remember my mom standing in the doorway, smiling proudly as I left for campus. "You're going to change your story, Clara," she'd say. And I did. When I graduated and landed a job at a major firm, I called Mom first. She cried so hard she couldn't speak. I worked my way up: intern, analyst, department head. Every promotion felt like a piece of revenge, quiet, patient revenge. Then, out of nowhere, came the company's merger. New investors joined, new departments were formed, and that's when his name appeared. Richard Walker, my father. I laughed when I saw the memo. It felt like life was staging a cruel joke. He didn't know I worked here. I'd changed my surname after Mom divorced him. Evans was her maiden name. But when I found out his son, Ethan, had been hired under me, everything shifted from coincidence to something far deeper. Was it fate? Karma? Or a test from the universe? I wasn't sure. But one thing I did know: this was my chance to confront everything I'd buried. The bitterness, the rejection, the ache of watching him build another life while we scraped by. This wasn't just a job anymore. This was redemption. I kept my cool around Ethan, but inside, every interaction burned. He'd talk about his dad's advice, the family trips, the tradition of Sunday dinners. Each story felt like a knife twisting slowly. One afternoon, he said, "You remind me of my sister Clara. She's around your age, I think. Dad doesn't talk about her much. He said she and Mom had a falling out years ago." I froze. He said my name like it belonged to a ghost. "Oh?" I said casually. "What happened?" He shrugged. "Not sure. Dad says she couldn't handle how busy he was. Some people just hold grudges, I guess." Grudges. That word hit like lightning. He left a family behind, destroyed a home, and I was the one holding a grudge? I wanted to scream, but instead I smiled. Maybe one day she'll tell her side. Over the next few weeks, Ethan's respect for me grew. He admired my leadership, asked for advice, even joked that I was the big sister he never had. If only he knew. Then came the quarterly presentation. I was leading it, with board members attending, including Richard Walker. The night before, I barely slept. My hands trembled as I reviewed the slides, knowing he'd be in that room. When the day came, I walked in poised and professional. My father sat at the long table, older, grayer, but unmistakably him. Our eyes met. For a split second, he looked confused. Then his face turned pale. He knew. The room fell silent. "Good morning," I began, my voice steady despite the storm inside me. "I'm Clara Evans, regional manager. Thank you for joining today's briefing." His gaze didn't leave me. He looked haunted, like a man facing a ghost from the past he buried too deep. I continued the presentation flawlessly, every word precise, every slide perfect. When it ended, the board applauded. But as the room emptied, Richard Walker stayed seated. Finally, he spoke. "Clara, is that really you?" I smiled politely. "Yes. It's been a long time, Mr. Walker." He flinched at the formality. "Please, call me Dad." I met his eyes coldly. "You forfeited that title 20 years ago." He sighed, voice trembling. "I know I hurt you and your mother. I've regretted it every day." I laughed bitterly. "Really? You seemed happy in all those family photos." "I was young and stupid," he said softly. "I thought I could build a better life, but I never stopped thinking about you." I shook my head. "You didn't think about me when Mom was sick and couldn't afford her medication. You didn't think about me when I had to drop out for a semester because I couldn't pay tuition. Don't rewrite history to make yourself feel better." Tears welled in his eyes. "Clara, please." Ethan appeared at the doorway, confused. "Dad, what's going on?" I turned to him. "Ask him, Ethan. Ask your father why he never told you about his first family." Ethan looked between us, his face pale. "What does she mean, Dad?" Richard stammered. She's your half-sister." The room spun with silence. Ethan's expression shattered. You have another daughter?" "Yes," I said firmly, "the daughter he left behind." Ethan looked at me, guilt and pain flooding his eyes. "I didn't know." "I know," I said softly. "You weren't the one who had to." I picked up my folder, ready to leave. But before I walked out, I looked straight at my father. "You taught me something valuable, Richard. You taught me what happens when someone walks away. They think they're leaving behind a burden. But sometimes, they're just creating a stronger rival." And then I walked out. For weeks, the office buzzed with whispers. Ethan avoided me at first, too stunned to process everything. But gradually, he started reaching out, asking questions about Mom, about what life had been like. I didn't sugarcoat it. He listened, sometimes crying, sometimes just sitting quietly. One evening he said, "I can't change what he did, but I want to be better than him." That's when I realized the truth. I didn't hate Ethan. He was a victim of the same man who hurt us. As for Richard Walker, he sent letters, apologies, even a check. I sent them all back. Mom didn't need his money. We'd built our lives without him. Months later, Richard resigned from the board. Maybe guilt finally caught up. Maybe he just couldn't face me in meetings anymore. And one morning, Ethan came to my office. "Clara," he said, smiling gently, "Dad's moving overseas, but before he leaves, he asked me to tell you, he's proud of you." I looked out the window, sunlight touching my desk. "He should be proud of Mom. She did all the work." Life has a strange sense of symmetry. The man who once made me feel powerless gave me the strength to rise above him. The brother I never knew became a reminder that pain doesn't have to pass down generations. I don't believe in revenge anymore. I believe in balance. My father's son now works beside me. Not beneath me, not above me, but beside me. We rebuilt something out of broken pieces. And sometimes, when I see Ethan laugh, I see the family we could have been. But I also see the woman I became. The woman who didn't let abandonment define her. The girl who turned scars into armor. So yes, my father left us for another family. But in the end, I didn't lose him. He lost me. And I became everything he thought I couldn't be.